The first time I smelled blood in our apartment, it came with roses. I remember it was a Tuesday, rain tapping against the windows like a whisper. I came home early, wanted to surprise her. I carried a bottle of Chateau Margaux and a stupid grin. We'd been married for 7 weeks. "Noel," I called. The place was too quiet. Then I saw the roses, a dozen, deep crimson, speckled with drops like ink. They were laid across the kitchen island next to a wine glass still spinning slightly on its stem, red smeared on the rim. I followed the trail without understanding what I was seeing: petals, droplets, a crimson fingerprint on the white wall. My heart was pounding, not with fear, not yet. Confusion. Some part of me still believed it was some kind of game. I found her in the bathroom, on the floor, legs curled up, arms clutching her belly, a pale robe half soaked in something dark. Her mascara bled down her cheeks. She looked up at me with wide, shaking eyes. "I lost it," she whispered. "Henry, our baby." My throat closed. I didn't speak. I knelt beside her, touched her forehead. She flinched. She cried harder. I could barely breathe. We never even had time to hear the heartbeat. She said she was 8 weeks along, just last month. I called 911. At the hospital, they kept me in the waiting room while she was examined. That's what they said. Examined. A nurse handed me paperwork. I signed blindly. A man in scrubs told me, "It happens often. Very common in the first trimester." I wanted to punch something. Noel didn't look at me when I was allowed back in. She just lay there, pale and broken, holding the sheet like it was the only thing tethering her to the world. When I touched her hand, she turned away. We went home the next morning. She barely spoke. The house was full of silence and shadows. Every sound felt too loud. I tried to cook, clean, pretend to work, but I couldn't shake the image. Her on the tile floor, red soaking into white. 2 days later, a letter arrived, certified. My name typed neatly on the envelope. Inside, a demand for financial compensation due to emotional distress, trauma, and loss associated with the termination of a wanted pregnancy. Filed by her lawyer. Her lawyer. I read it 3 times. Then again. That night, I stood in the bathroom doorway, watching her remove her makeup with surgical precision, like nothing happened. "You told your lawyer before you told me?" I asked. She met my eyes in the mirror. A long, cold pause. "I told the right people," she said. Then walked past me, brushing my arm with her perfume. Something inside me broke. Quietly. Irreversibly. I didn't scream. I didn't rage. That came later. At first, I sat in my office with the letter in one hand and my phone in the other, scrolling back through messages I thought I understood. Noel had a flair for dramatics. She was an actress, after all. But this? A legal claim? A miscarriage compensation demand? From my wife? I wasn't just a lawyer. I was the kind of lawyer people called when the stakes were high and the knives were hidden. And right now, I was the one bleeding. The first thing I did was call her doctor, or the one she said was her doctor. No answer. The number disconnected. I called the clinic. No record under her name. No visit on the date of the appointment. No medical confirmation. Nothing. I double-checked, triple-checked. That silence I heard on the other end of the line. It wasn't incompetence. It was absence. The kind you only get when someone's never been there at all. I pulled every string I had. Medical contacts, legal databases, even asked a colleague in forensics to dig into scanned documents she'd left on my desk that now looked a little too perfect. Everything came up wrong. The doctor's credentials were fabricated. The clinic was a storefront now selling vape cartridges. She was lying. And not just about the miscarriage. The more I looked, the more the threads came loose. Her name, her old film credits. Some were accurate, some were exaggerated. Her prior marriages? I found 2. One ended in a sealed settlement, the other never legally registered. She'd done this before. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room with a glass of rye and a list of names. Her supposed lawyer, the doctor, the paralegal who'd emailed me with the demand. All aliases. No verified bar numbers, no medical licenses, just an elaborate theater. And yet, no smoking gun, no confession, no paper trail that could hold up in court, just enough to know I was being played, not enough to expose her. I stared out the window at the city. It blinked back at me, indifferent and endless. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about power, control, manipulation. And I had allowed it. No, I had welcomed it. I let her in. I gave her keys. I proposed. I married her. She picked me because I was careful, because I was trained not to make mistakes. And now, my name was on a legal document accusing me of emotional negligence. The scandal could ruin me. I stood up, poured the rye down the drain, and picked up my phone. I started calling in favors. Old clients, courtroom enemies, anyone who owed me silence. I didn't ask for help. I asked for whispers. I didn't want to fight her in court. I wanted to drag her world out by its seams and stitch something new from the wreckage. I was prepared for pushback. I wasn't prepared for silence. 3 weeks into my investigation, the walls began to close. The lawyer who owed me a favor stopped returning my calls. The PI I hired found his tires slashed outside his office. One morning, I woke to find my own name dragged through an anonymous online forum. Allegations, screenshots, doctored messages. Noel was moving faster than me. I confronted her, not with rage. I knew better. I came home early, walked into the bedroom where she was trying on jewelry, calm as a goddamn summer lake. I know about the clinic, I said. The doctor, the fake records. She didn't flinch, just unclasped a necklace and laid it on the velvet tray. You'll need more than suspicion, she said, meeting my gaze in the mirror. My breath caught, because she was right. I had threads but no net, no blood test, no surveillance. She'd kept everything verbal, emotional, implied. The documents were clever, the emails untraceable. Every move left just enough doubt. You planned this, I whispered. No, she replied, turning to face me. You planned this. I just helped you live it. And then she kissed me. Light. Calculated. My stomach turned. The next day, I walked into my firm and felt eyes turn. My partner, Elaine, closed her door as I approached. She slid a printed thread of accusations across her desk. A Reddit post claiming I forced my wife into abortion, that I was emotionally abusive. The comments were venomous. You need to make a statement, Elaine said. I stared at the printout. The timing, the tone. It was Noel's hand in digital ink. That night, I broke. I screamed, not at her, not at the walls, at myself. In the shower, I sank to the floor. Cold water ran over me as if trying to scrub it off. The shame, the stupidity, the arrogance of believing I could spot a lie before it reached me. She hadn't just fooled me. She'd reprogrammed me, made me doubt my own instincts. Every smile, every touch was a performance, and I'd applauded it like a love-drunk audience member. I began avoiding mirrors, avoiding food. My voice cracked when I tried to say my own name out loud. I stopped showing up at work, canceled my cases. I was no longer a man. I was evidence, and she was winning. Again. So I did what she never expected. I disappeared. From the public. From my routines. I rented a cold, dark apartment downtown. Slept on a mattress without sheets. Let the silence become my study. And in that silence, a single, feral truth took root. She thinks this is over. But I'm not Henry, the careful lawyer, anymore. I'm the man she built, and now I'll use every part of what she made to undo her. I started with the ledger. Not the legal kind, the personal one. Every lie Noel told had a pattern, and patterns leave footprints. She once mentioned a spa retreat in Ojai. a boutique place that burned down 3 years ago, yet her Instagram had tagged it just 6 months back. The image? Pulled from a stock site. I traced the metadata. It was uploaded the same day she claimed to be there. Her travel history, her friends, even her agent. All ghosts with veneers. One by one, I charted their connections. I used burner phones, anonymous forums, and legal databases disguised under aliases. Noel didn't have a network. She had a stage crew. I recruited someone unexpected. Tasha, a former client, former thief, and the sharpest social engineer I'd ever prosecuted. She owed me jail time she never served because I buried the evidence. Now she repaid the debt in full. "I want in," she said, cigarette dangling. "Not because I like you, because I hate people who weaponize love." We built a new trap. It started with an obituary. I fabricated a distant uncle, rich, alone, recently deceased. I had Tasha play the grieving niece. We baited Noel with an inheritance rumor, sealed documents, exotic property listings. Tasha introduced herself as the trustee. Noel bit. She asked the right questions, played innocent. I watched it all through a camera sewn into Tasha's purse. When Noel came to the first reading of the will, she wore all white, like she thought innocence had a color. She signed the visitor log with a flourish. I saved the pen she used. It was hers now, evidence. Every time she asked about the money, we offered just enough detail to make it real. We staged voicemails, fake wire transfer alerts, even a bank login with doctored balances. She couldn't resist. Greed has a scent, and I'd finally matched her perfume. Then I turned the screw. The second fake lawyer she tried to bribe was my colleague from law school. We wired the room, faked the conversation, watched Noel offer a cut for burying the original marriage contract and altering her prenuptial. She used her real name. That clip alone was a felony. But I didn't want a quiet arrest. I wanted thunder. So we orchestrated a public event, a charity gala under my firm's name. Noel was invited through one of Tasha's fake friends. We framed it as a celebration of legal philanthropy. Cameras were everywhere. Halfway through the night, we played the footage. Her voice, her words, her betrayal, projected above the ballroom like some deranged confessional. Gasps, phones, silence. And there she stood, Noel, frozen in the center of the room, dressed like a movie star watching her own career end. She turned to me. "You did this," she said, her voice brittle. I leaned in, close enough for only her to hear. "No," I whispered. "You taught me how." I didn't stay for the fallout. I left the gala before the applause died, before the murmurs turned to headlines. The footage had been mirrored across private press networks, social media, court affiliates. It was already spreading. Noel wouldn't face prison, not immediately. But her brand was dead, her leverage gone. The web she spun had been exposed under floodlights. I returned to the apartment I hadn't seen in months. It smelled of dust and old books. My real life waiting like a coat left too long on a hook. I poured a glass of water, sat by the window, and watched the city flicker. The next morning, a reporter called, then another. I said nothing. Let the silence stretch. Let them guess. That's what Noel had taught me. Sometimes mystery is more powerful than fact. Later that week, a former judge sent me a message. "Hell of a show, Henry. Remind me never to cross you." I didn't respond. I was invited back to the firm. Apologies, weak smiles, reinstatement. I accepted. Not because I forgave them, but because the world only remembers strength, not origin stories. Now, when I walk into a room, people look longer. Their compliments carry an edge, like they're unsure if I'm a hero or a villain. Maybe both. Noel vanished. Changed names, probably. Maybe someone else's husband is watching her smile across a dinner table right now, unaware the blade's already pressed to his throat. Let him learn the way I did. I keep the pen she signed with, the footage, the fake will, all in a locked box under my desk. Not out of fear, out of principle. Proof, should the truth ever come under question. They clapped when I exposed her. They clapped louder when I smiled.